What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the Geek Speak Nation channel, and today I'm here to bring you my review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Hello. Yes, I know, been gone a while. It's kind of my MO at this point. Been busy taking care of stuff in my personal life, so I was just not really available physically or mentally sometimes to make content. But since then, I have recorded a video review of Coming to America, and that's going to be coming out next week. And then also I'm set up to record a review of WandaVision. Yes, I was like, what's the name of the show? WandaVision is the show that is up next. I'm going to be reviewing as well. So both of those should be coming out next week. I kind of want to make up for not having been able to make content for the past couple of weeks, and then put that out for you guys. But today we're here to talk about something near and dear to my heart, something incredibly special. We're here to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I've got to say, I am incredibly happy with this film. You know, it's been a while since I've done a review, especially one like this, not scripted and just vibing, talking about what I thought about a film. Yeah, I was incredibly happy with this movie and the way it turned out. I don't think people fully comprehend how important this film is, not just from like the perspective of fans of, you know, Zack Snyder, DC Comics, blah 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 blah, just in the sense of cinema in and of itself. Sure, we have director's cuts years later and things like that, but we've never had something to this scale of such a public fallout between Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers, and then publicly everything that's happened with Joss Whedon and everything that's happened since then with the allegations towards Joss Whedon and Geoff Johns and the mismanagement of the whole entire film, and how much of this film was already shot and how much of it was reshot and re-edited. We have never seen something to this magnitude happen, and for a director to get a second shot. And as someone, you know, who's a filmmaker and as someone who loves cinema, this is something to like behold and be flabbergasted by, because this just doesn't happen. And the fan outcry and the social media outcry in order to get this cut of the film and to bring it to life, I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane that this even exists, which is absolutely amazing. And who knows what it could lead to in the future. You know, we don't want to get our hopes up about, you know, hashtag restore the Snyderverse is now trending, but we don't want to, you know, get our hopes up about that. But what we do have is a significantly better film than the one we got in 2017, which I think is the year it came out. But it's a significantly better film. And I'm just blown away by it. I truly am blown away by it. And especially considering everything, like I said, that happened behind the scenes with the movie. I did not like the original cut of Justice League. I have not watched it since I saw it in theaters. Once I saw it in theaters, I was like, I'm never watching this movie again. And I still have not rewatched that cut of Justice League done by Joss Whedon. And what we end up finding is the same situation that we were in when Batman v Superman came out. For those of you who were here when I was making reviews for that and doing coverage on that film, I said in my review of the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman, I don't understand why they didn't trust Zack Snyder's vision. For some reason, they were so scared of Batman v Superman being a 3-hour film. They're like, it's got to get cut down to 2.5. We got to get down to 2.5. You know, not even considering the fact that Avatar, the highest grossing film of all time, is 3 hours. So audiences really don't care about length of film. It's about quality of film. But the same thing, I just keep thinking about what happened with Batman v Superman, where I watched that Ultimate cut and I said in my video, my review, I was like, we would be living in a whole entire different timeline if people saw the original cut that Zack Snyder had of Batman v Superman. We'd be living in an entirely different timeline of films that were being made right now, the quality of the DC cinematic universe. We'd be, its overall social reception, we'd be in a totally different spot. And the same thing has happened now with Justice League, where I am looking at the original cut, the original vision of Zack Snyder, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, wow, things would be really different if Warner Brothers just trusted the guy who they hired to do the job, you know? Because the film that we get is so competently told, it's so unique, it's so visually arresting, just like how Batman v Superman was in the Ultimate Edition, and it's a competently told story, which both theatrical versions of those films are not, and the stories make no sense, which, you know, ends up being a big reflection on Zack Snyder, and people criticize him saying, oh, he's all visuals, no substance, he doesn't know how to tell an actual story, he doesn't know how to put one together, and it comes off that way when the edits are that bad. But on top of that, you realize just how much of a plan Zack had thematically with what he was doing, and what a plan and what a vision he had for all of these films and what they were building towards and leading towards. And the biggest thing I've said about Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, is that this cut of the film is not going to change how you feel about the characters. If you don't like a Batman that kills, if you don't like a darker version of Superman, if you don't like this darker version of the DCU, it's not going to change those aspects of it, right? It's not going to change those viewpoints that people have of those films. But you can respect these films now as a work of art as they are presented, and respect these films as an attempt at trying something unique and trying something that genuinely has something to say about these characters or about our world in general. And I genuinely mean that. And I haven't seen a single person who's hated these films, who I've encouraged to watch these extended versions of Zack Snyder's films, who haven't come to some form of respect of what he was attempting to do. That was just stifled by executives at Warner Brothers. But regardless, the film that we got now, the film that we have now, is it's genuinely incredible. It genuinely is this epic tale, this epic saga that Zack Snyder had envisioned, and being able to see it come to life is just absolutely incredible. I'm gonna get into spoilers. If you want to know my stamp of approval, obviously this film has my stamp of approval, the way I've been gushing about it, but I want to get into spoilers because there's some things to talk about. Is it a perfect film? No film is perfect, obviously, blah 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 blah, you know, the basic crap you always have to say when you talk about a movie. But despite its flaws, I absolutely adore the film, and part of its flaws are very endearing to me because a lot of its flaws have to do with its overabundance of fan service, but it's just the best kind of just like, look, we know the fans are gonna love this, so let's just put this in here because why not? We have the opportunity to, why not do it? But besides that, I still adore the film, and I highly recommend that you check it out. Yes, it's 4 hours, but you know, watch it in parts, like the parts that they have set up in the film. I recommend watching it if you haven't seen it. But now for those who have seen it, or those who don't care about spoilers, let's talk about some spoilers. The mishandling of every single character in the theatrical cut is just so mind-blowingly apparent when you end up watching this original cut. Now, granted, there are some characters who, you know, in either cut of the film just are left to kind of do really not much of anything. Lois Lane, Martha Kent, you know, they're not really left to do much of anything except Born Superman. But almost every single member of the Justice League ends up getting retooled in a way that just makes them much more endearing and makes them fully realized characters. And obviously the biggest winner of there's a thing in video games called when you get your patch notes, or when you get a patch note update for the game, and like when characters get, you know, balanced, you know, it's like, who's the winner of the patch? That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like a video game that got a big update. Cyborg was the biggest winner of this patch, of the Zack Snyder cut patch. He was the biggest winner, and seeing this version of the film put so much into light with Ray Fisher's situation. But regardless, Cyborg in this film, you know, Zack Snyder kept saying he's the heart of the movie. He's the heart of the movie. That Cyborg is the emotional core of what this film is about. And he's right. He was right. I mean, what they ended up doing with Cyborg was so interesting. He's not this emotionally closed off robot that he's presented as in the theatrical cut. He is someone who's struggling and trying to come to terms with his very existence, right? And trying to figure out his place in the world after he thought he had it set. He thought he had it settled, even though it wasn't perfect and there's things he didn't like. He felt as though he had a place in the world. And now he doesn't feel like he fits in anywhere. And there's this whole entire idea that plays out over the course of his character arc about this theme and this idea of being broken. And the whole entire emotional journey has to go through, and the emotional journey he has to get to by the end of the film, where he looks at the three mother boxes, or the visions of the mother boxes inside of his brain, when he's looking at those things, and the last thing he says to them, you know, before he triumphantly, you know, splits apart the mother boxes from the Unity, is, "I'm not broken." And that floored me, man. It floored me, because it was just so powerful to see what his journey was. And it's just like a common reaction you have when you're watching this movie is you're just like, why would you cut that? Who would cut that out of the movie? And you can tell in the theatrical version, they cut out a whole bunch of stuff in favor of you know, trying to give a little bit back more to Superman and all this other stuff, and giving him a CGI upper lip. But man, it just what they were able to do with Cyborg in this film was just so unique and just so engaging, and it just made him a fully realized and three-dimensional character who wasn't being stilted on purpose. He just doesn't know how to process who he is anymore. And all these, there's so many moments of when he's in his cyborg you know, look, but he cracks a smile, and it's just the most heartwarming thing of like oh, my camera just like freaked out for a second. No clue what happened there, but all right, technical difficulties aside, there's a bunch of scenes where Ray Fisher is smiling, and he only cracks these smiles and all this stuff when no one's looking, and it's just this childlike just excitement inside of him that ends up just being able to come out and show. And it's just this powerful thing, like he's reconnecting with who he is again over the course of this adventure. And it's just so beautiful, and everything that's done with the relationship with his father and how that was cut out was just absolutely insane, because their relationship, and it really is the heart of the film, and this idea of the connection between two people and between others, and how it's important that despite our differences, despite our history, being able to come together and love above all. It's just a really, really powerful message. I think it's one that's very much needed, and it's very well implemented, and not in this like cheesy kind of grandiose way. You know, it fits in very subtly, because everything that Zack Snyder does is not subtle. It's not subtle, you know. He's very over the top. He's very in your face about his themes, his metaphors, his Jesus imagery, you know. So seeing this was just really powerful, is really, really powerful in this film. So like I said, Cyborg was the biggest winner in the patch. And I think I think everyone else in the cast as well is just everyone feels balanced. Everything feels the way it should be, you know. Barry Allen in this version, Ezra Miller's Flash, is just so much more pulled back in this version. They added so many jokes, but not only they added so many jokes, they added so many sexist and just like racially insensitive jokes in the reshoots. Like the whole entire grave digging scene is entirely different in the theatrical cut. From what I recall, there was like this joke about like, oh, come on, give me Dapper, like give me, like it was so bad. It was just so bad. And then the whole entire gag of oh, the Flash landed on Wonder Woman because boobs. It was just like, come on. Like it's just like, it was just this silly, annoying little sex pest of a character that was just on screen for attempted comedic relief but never succeeded. But in this, even in his initial introduction that we get with him in the film, you know, he's someone who is, yes, socially inept or socially awkward, but he's someone who's just trying to do the right thing. That's all he wants to do, is to do the right thing. And we see him introduced trying to get a job walking dogs and all that sort of stuff. And the scenes with him in the prison are really good, and him talking to his father in prison, very, very good stuff. It just shows that he has this emotional depth that he is dealing with, that he doesn't quite know how to process. Like even when his dad tells him not to come visit him ever again in prison, and it's just like the response that he gives, and Ezra Miller's performance is like, he's just like, this character is just trying not to shut down because it's just so hard for him to process what his father is saying, and he's very hurt emotionally in this moment, and he's trying to fall back on humor, and his words are coming off as stilted, trying to get them out. Like it was so good. It was so good. And by just toning that down and, you know, interspersing the jokes when needed, the scenes felt much more fluid and appropriate for when it came to the humor, and it made everything work much better in this cut of the film. And it makes just the Flash a much better character in this film, and he comes off as actually more heroic and not this thundering dingleberry who's just tripping all over the place, tripping everywhere he goes and falling over and over again, and just sucks at being a superhero. He genuinely felt like someone who wanted to live up to the image of the people around him, and occasionally can when he's just trying his best and pushing himself to the very limit. And dude, don't even get me started on the Speed Force scene and turning back time. That was insane. But yeah, so Flash is much better in this film. And real quick, Batman is about the same, but he is much more stoic and much better. He still has this dry sense of humor, which I enjoyed. You get a lot of that with Alfred, and you get this cute, like, kind of romantic humor with Wonder Woman. I'm like, yes, I ship that. If you watch the Batman and if you watch the Justice League animated series, you know we ship that in this household. But the way that it was carried out, right, and the way that it was done in the theatrical cut when it came to Batman's humor was atrocious, just dad humor, just like, I heard you talk to fish. And in just that scene alone, and how different that is so annoying. It is so annoying because they decided to put in the joke of, Arthur Curry, I heard you talk to fish. They replaced that instead of having they replaced that from the original. In the original, he ends up responding to him back in Icelandic, I think it is, or yeah, I think that's the language, or what you'd say it. But he ends up speaking back to Aquaman in the native tongue that everyone was talking in that scene, which ends up reinforcing the fact that Batman's not dumb, and it lets Aquaman know that this guy isn't messing around. He's in on what everything else is going on, and he's very serious about he needs you on the team. And all the humor is just cut out that scene, and it's much more serious the way it was intended. And especially in building that serious, brooding mood in the beginning of setting up this like ominous feeling of like, yo, there is something coming and people are going to die unless we get these people to go. So yeah. So they cut out all of his dad humor and like the sad shots of like Ben Affleck just like drunk taking off the Batman costume and just looking sad. And I was just like, Jesus, this man looks clocked out. This man looks clocked out in the original, in the theatrical cut. But in this original, he's just so much better and just so much more in line with the way this Batman should be. You know, and I've definitely come around on certain aspects of this Batman, especially when it comes to the whole entire no-kill policy and this being a Batman that does kill. And just seeing Zack Snyder explain it in an interview he did, you know, explaining it as in the realm of, you know, this Batman did have the no-kill rule, but the way that his life went, and that this is like a Batman who's just gone through so much and just gave up. He just gave up on humanity and gave up on hope. And didn't care about his no-kill policy anymore. And he talks about how, because I think it was a fan question on an IGN interview, and the question was like, you know, we've seen that this Batman kills, but after the death of Superman, would he go back to not killing anymore? And he's like, you know, that's a very interesting question, and it's reasonable to assume that. He's like, that would be a strong possibility, because now his faith is restored. Like that's Batman's whole entire journey in this film is all about faith. It's all about believing even though things are not looking like they're going to be the best outcome, and just having faith that people will come together and people will do the right thing when necessary, right? And that's what his journey has been about. And you don't lose sight of that, and it doesn't feel cheesy, it doesn't feel hokey, because he's out here making dad jokes and he's like, I'm just a hopeful, optimistic dad over here of the group, yuck yuck yuck. Like, he's not doing that anymore. And having him be much more grounded, it's so much helpful, so much more helpful. And I really do like what they were able to do with Batman in this film, and I feel like it just fits his journey over these two films much better, in someone who's having his faith restored and wanting to be a hero again. Because, you know, it's just, our Batman is just like, Batman is the villain of Batman v Superman, you know? He really is the villain of that movie. And having him become the hero again was a very interesting journey. It was a very, very interesting journey. But, yeah, so Batman, much better in this film. Wonder Woman, I gotta tell you, Wonder Woman is just the better in this movie than she's been in her own solo movies. Maybe not the first Wonder Woman movie. That's a bit drastic, maybe. But I gotta say, it's like, she's just so awesome in this, dude. Like, she's just so awesome in this. Like, she kicks butt. Her action's amazing. But just, she's so empowering to everyone that's around her, whether it's her friends, whether it's the people during the bank heist stuff, which that sequence is amazing, and like, oh my gosh, crazy, violent, it was awesome. But she's just so much more graceful and just so much more grounded, and it's just this beautiful interpretation of Diana that is just so strong, and she just truly feels like the backbone of the entire Justice League throughout this whole movie, of like the one who's holding it all together, and it's just like there to guide everyone in the best way possible. It is also like the best fighter on the team. Like, she is awesome, absolutely awesome in this interpretation, and I just, well, she's way better in this film than she was in Wonder Woman 1984. Oh boy, that was a big old stinker, big old stinky diaper of a film. But yeah, I still think that what they were able to do here was absolutely fantastic with her. I really did enjoy it. And yeah, Wonder Woman is no longer the, no pun intended, but a lot of these sex jokes in this. They got rid of all the Whedon butt shots. There's so many shots of Gal Gadot's butt and tight pants and all that sort of stuff, and in the theatrical cut, because, you know, Joss Whedon's this little sex goblin. But yeah, so all that stuff was removed, and it's just such a graceful is the only word that comes to mind. Such a graceful performance, and it's just so engaging. Aquaman's great too. He's no longer a joke. There's a lot of jokes at the expense of him. He talks to fish. There's none of that in the original cut that Zack Snyder had. It was much more like, I guess respectful is the way of saying it towards his character, but it was much more just like more direct in trying to present him of like, look, he's not this cheesy, campy, hokey, goofy character. He is cool, he's awesome, at the same time he's powerful, but he is still this wayward soul that doesn't know what his place in the world is, you know, before the events of the Aquaman film. But yeah, so that's that with Aquaman. There's not much to say about it. Oh, no, there is something to say about Aquaman. They cut out all these stupid shots. It's like the commentary of this movie. I know, it's like, this movie, how good is the movie? It's great because they cut out all the stuff that Joss Whedon did. But there were so many cringy jokes that he kept doing and just kept hitting on Wonder Woman in the original cut. And it was just so icky and gross, and I just couldn't stand it. And I'm just so glad they got rid of that, you know? It's like, there's only one joke about like Wonder Woman in general and like dating Wonder Woman, and it's Flash, and he's like, you know, hey, do you think she'd go for a younger guy, you know, yeah, like me? And he's like, Barry, she's 5,000 years old. Every single person there is a younger guy. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like that was funny. Like that was funny, and it wasn't like at the expense of like objectifying Wonder Woman, like so many of the other jokes in the theatrical cut were. So I'm glad that was rectified, and Aquaman is just a dude who's just chilling and not someone who's just like, what's up, girl? You know. So that's very nice that interpretation is no longer there. So last but not least, I think the character I want to bring up the most. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. Cyborg. Oh, Superman. Yeah, no. Before we get to Steppenwolf, Superman. Superman was fine. Not much has changed really from the theatrical cut. Honestly, this isn't Superman's movie. This isn't Superman's movie. Yeah. And there's just not much else to say about Superman in that regard. He's good at it. It is awesome. His action sequences are awesome. But yeah, Superman is kind of in the background on purpose, because after his resurrection, he's not fully coherent of who he is, and it takes like 2 hours before they actually resurrect him. Like, they don't resurrect him until the halfway mark of the movie. So his journey really in this film was just remembering who he was. I think the real journey for this version of Superman really comes afterwards, and having to face this idea that he could possibly be the end of the world. I think that's where the next crux of his journey comes into play. But Superman is just kept very simple in this film, and that's on purpose, because he just has a simple role to serve for something that's going to be a part of a bigger picture later on. So yeah, I mean, yes, it's kind of the same issue that people have had since Batman v Superman, where Superman just kind of feels like he's taking a backseat, although I don't think he really does in the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman. I think he very much so, him and Clark Kent are very big and prominent parts of that cut of the film. But when it comes to Justice League, yeah, both versions, he's still kind of sitting by the wayside. Justice League, the theatrical cut added a bunch of stuff to try to make him more prominent in the film, which is fine, I guess, but I think it's more effective where he's used here, where he's very sparse, but when he comes in, it makes a big impact, because it's always a big shift in the mood and the tone of what's going to happen next. And yeah, I think he's used perfectly fine. Steppenwolf. Now, he's someone I'm very interested in talking about, because they, in the Joss Whedon cut, he was this bland blob CGI guy who's like had a mom complex for the mother boxes, like they were his actual moms. It's like they called me mommy. It was weird. It was really weird. And thankfully, as you can see the common trend in this video, he's much better in the Zack Snyder cut of this film. He's just so much better. He's so much more intimidating. He graphically butchers people in this film. I mean, butchers people in this movie with his battle axe. But on top of that, you have this emotional core because now you understand his motivation. He wasn't just doing this for like, I guess we're gonna collect some boxes because, why not? Like, we have the reveal of, no, he's here because he was trying to get the Unity together. He owes a debt to Darkseid of 50,000 worlds because at some point he tried to betray him, realized the error in his ways, and then killed the betrayers. And now he is just ostracized. And it's just, it's just so interesting. You see him talking to Desaad and he's like, please let me come home. And just the way that, he gets on his knees and begs to come home and pleads in front of Darkseid, and all of his armor comes off all to his shoulders and he just bows down. Like, he's just so much more in depth of the character because he has actual hopes and dreams and fears. Like, we know what he's actually afraid of. We know what he wants. He just wants to be a part of his family again. He wants to have his rightful place back at home. He wants forgiveness. These are all complex human emotions. What are we doing giving this to our CGI bad guy, right? So yeah, it was so good. It was so good, man. And it's just like, man, why would you cut this? Because he was just such a fascinating villain, and it was just so enjoyable to see him on screen all the time because he just carried this gravitas of this long, weary warrior who just wants his journey to be over, and he just wants forgiveness. That's all he wants, and he's willing to pay that price in all the blood of the people on this planet. And then you get this big reveal of the anti-life equation being a part of the universe. And yes, okay, good, we're following this, that this is what Darkseid is all desiring, is the anti-life equation. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So yeah, I really enjoyed what they did with Steppenwolf, because at the same time you actually had this conflict between what the bad guy wants and what the good guys want, and just that extra incentive and drive when Steppenwolf realizes, holy crap, the anti-life equation is on this planet. This is not a drill. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Like, this is not okay. It was great. It was so great. It was absolutely great. And I really enjoyed what they did with Steppenwolf in this film. And he was genuinely a character I enjoyed, which I did not expect. I just expected him to be CGI bad guy who just was randomly teleporting to the boxes somehow, and we didn't know how. He was just like, boop, okay, I'm gonna take one, boop, 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 and just kept doing that the whole entire movie. But no, he was a genuinely interesting character that I cared about in a weird way. It was awesome. Yeah, very, very good. 3, 2, 1, and I guess wrapping things up in like some, random, tidbits of fan service. I think the fan service is the weakest parts of the film. Sometimes there's just too much of it, and it ruins the flow and the pacing of certain story events, because certain story events end up getting so far in between, you end up kind of losing the sense of urgency. So I think that's kind of like the biggest issue with the film, and also too much slow-mo. I think if they reduced some of the sequences of slow motion mixed in with licensed music that didn't really fit the scene, then the film would feel like it had a much better pace and wouldn't feel 4 hours. Like, it'd feel long, but it wouldn't feel 4 hours if they didn't have so many of those slow motion licensed music sequences. They're gorgeous though. Yeah, so those were kind of the weaknesses of the film. But in all honesty, when it comes to the fan service, man, I know it kind of weakens the film, and it kind of ruins the pacing, makes it choppy, yada yada yada, like I said. But dude, I gotta admit, man, I was gushing, man. I was happy. I was happy seeing all this stuff, dude. Seeing Martian Manhunter, man. Seeing Barry save Iris. Seeing everything. I can't even remember everything that happened because it's such a long movie. But yeah, there's just so much in that. And the extended flashback sequence, seeing Darkseid, the anti-life equation. It was just the Omega Beam. Darkseid did an Omega Beam in live action. I was just so happy, man. I was just watching it. And I was just like, by the time we got to the part where Barry was entering the Speed Force past the speed of light and was turning back time, like my mouth was just agape as I was watching. I was just like, leaned in looking at my TV. It was incredible, man. It was absolutely incredible. I had such a good time. Such a good time watching this film. And it's just one of those things where even with the stuff that was tacked on at the end, like the nightmare sequence, you could not convince me Jared Leto is a good Joker. That was such a bad performance, but a good scene. Despite all of this, you know, all that stuff just made it endearing to me because it just felt like Zack was like, look, if you're going to make a Justice League movie, you give the fans what they want. Storyboards, structure, story be damned. We're going to give these people what they want. And he did. And you know what? It made me happy. It really did make me happy. And it's just all the things that could have been. Hurts my heart. I think that's the saddest thing about seeing all this is seeing how far Zack's original vision could have gone. But we just don't get to because of the way things are with Warner Brothers and all that sort of stuff and the way things ended. But I really hope that there is some way, shape, or form to reconcile what has happened and in some way, shape, or form restore this universe and restore this vision of the DC cinematic universe, because I think they have something incredible here, from their cast to Ray Fisher, who needs to come back, and Zack, and wanting to see where his vision goes with this nightmare, this future, and building an even bigger Justice League. All the stuff with Martian Manhunter. It's really great stuff. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. So I am happy with this film. It was great. I loved it. If I had to give it a rating, and I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. If I had to give it a fan rating from my heart, I had to give it like a 9, 9.5. Yeah, 9 of a voice crack. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. I had such a good time. It was such a good time. And that's just the best way to describe it. It was such a good time, and it was just everything I wanted as a fan and more. It really was. It just delivered. It just delivered. And it was so worth the wait, and I'm glad that we can look back and have this version of the Justice League and not the trash bag of a movie that was the Joss Whedon cut. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of Zack Snyder's Snyder Justice League? I get comments all the time saying his name's Snyder, not Schneider, and I can't help. It's just the way I talk. Sometimes that's just how it sounds when I say Snyder. Sometimes it sounds like Schneider, and I don't mean to, but I get crapped on it a lot in the comments of any time I talk about anything DC related. So it is what it is. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of this film in the comment sections down below? And also, while you're down there, if you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new here, subscribe to become a part of the Geek Speak Nation channel. Make sure you set that bell icon to all so you always get notified of when I post a new video. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Again, up next is going to be my Coming to America review. What a movie. And then two, what we're gonna have next is my review of WandaVision. I don't know, I forgot it twice in the same video. Forgot the name of this TV show, WandaVision. Finally gonna have my review up for that, and then I've officially decided what the next topic of my next video essay will be. So production and writing and all that stuff on that is going to start next week. It's gonna be a while before we see it, but it's going to be worth the wait. Hopefully. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I'm Daniel, and don't forget to get geeky.